Well, here we are. A brand new YouTuber, and I'm already taking shots at Otzdarva. The biggest DbD YouTuber. I can't wait for my career to be over before it's begun. Otzdarva is wrong.
Hello friends, this is Otz, and if you're new to this channel, we play a lot of Dead by Daylight.
Recently, Otz made a video criticizing bad ideas from the Dead by Daylight community, and I'm sorry, but some of the reasonings he gave were very bad. For the most part, I actually tend to agree with him. However, on these three things, his reasoning just wasn't bad, they were flat out wrong. I'm in no way saying that I'm smarter than Otz when it comes to Dead by Daylight, but I really don't think for these few things, he's thought them through thoroughly. If you happen to disagree with any of my takes, then please feel free to comment down below and we can hash it out there. But with that said, let's get right into it.
Detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it?
And the first one, this seems like such a good idea, and as a content creator, I should be completely on board. Just make DbD free to play, and then you can just make money by selling tons of Sable skins to new players. But there's an unfortunate reality, which is that DbD does not have a solid anti-cheat problem.
While true, yes, this is a terrible excuse as to why Dead by Daylight cannot or should not be free to play. The truth is that Dead by Daylight's cheating issues are a problem regardless of free to play or not. The only time I could see them having to deal with it, step up, and actually solve the problem of cheaters in their game is if the community actually came together and directly called for a solution. Because if they did not, then the game would inevitably suffer. Something that's being forgotten, however, is making the game free to play would not just increase cheaters, but it would also increase the amount of genuine players as well. The amount of genuine players that would increase in this game would be 100 times the amount of people who are cheating.
If you remember, some years ago, Dead by Daylight was indeed free for a weekend. During that weekend, anyone that claimed the game on the Epic Game Store managed to secure it for life. And this was, I think, one of the biggest catastrophes, one of the biggest blunders that DbD has ever made. In that weekend, cheater groups managed to snag thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of free accounts that now had DbD forever. And these accounts sit somewhere until someone buys cheats, and then they use this account, and when they get banned for cheating, well, they just move on to another account that's also free. It made cheating so prevalent afterwards. Don't get me wrong, even if it hadn't happened, cheaters find other ways to get cheap accounts, but it definitely didn't help. Making DbD free to play would make the cheater problem 1,000 times worse, I am convinced.
Although I did not play during this time, as I'm a new Dead by Daylight player, it does seem that this claim is true. However, as this could be suggestive of what could happen if the game did go free to play, as of right now, these Epic accounts are a very low issue. The reason being that cheaters in Dead by Daylight today don't even need real accounts to play the game itself. I have seen firsthand from someone who stream sniped me some of the power of these cheat engines. These cheat softwares allow them to spoof their accounts, their games, PC hardware, IP addresses, blood points, iridescent shards, auric cells, skins, perks, and so much more. The engines even allow you to click a button that will force you into a live TTV's match, which is how I even came to find out about the power of these cheats. Side note, it also shows them a countdown of how long until they join a match, their place in the queue for a match, and also their MMR.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f is that?
I know behavior tries to hide the MMR for some reason, but this software just straight up shows a number. There is practically nothing in the way to stop someone right now from cheating in DbD if they want to, because the cheat software they can use is effectively unbannable. The second you ban their account, they will just click a button and boom, they are back on with a fresh, spoofed account. Through talking to a cheater who sniped me during my live stream, twitch.tv/amtellus by the way, he said the problem is much larger than we think, and there are way more cheaters than people think there are. Currently, The biggest issue I could find with people complaining cheaters are creating new accounts is through Xbox Game Pass, which to a small degree is already kind of making the game free to play. Even though the cheating may be a problem, I would imagine the cheating for people like Otz, Hens, Aaron is at a much higher value than 90% of the player base. I play Dead by Daylight daily, and I would say 95% of my matches, which I play at higher level lobbies, have no cheaters in them. But even if that were wrong by a certain deviation, still 80% or more games played are without cheaters.
So yeah, probably the way it should be, keep DbD as a small price to make cheaters have to pay a lot of money if they want to buy multiple accounts, ideally, and that should be the best compromise, and make everything else in the game cheap or free. That's probably how it should be.
As I've already stated previously, this does not matter one bit to the cheater because their accounts are already free with the software I was shown. And as you admit, there are other ways we all know of to get games for extreme discounts anyway.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees!
Regardless of that fact, these cheaters already pay egregious amounts of money for the software. So I just don't think anyone who's willing to pay $100 a month to cheat in Dead by Daylight of all games would even care about an extra $20 anyway. I'm not naive in thinking that this $20 doesn't stop some cheaters, but I would imagine those cheaters that it does stop would be caught within the first 10 matches anyway. The thing you are right about is that the cheater problem would get 1,000 times worse. But again, remember that the player base would also be 10,000 times better. The way I see it, the cheater issue in the game is just not sufficient enough of an argument to completely negate making the game free to play. Behavior needs to solve this problem, but if we look at things honestly, they just aren't going to. They do not care. They have a history of not dealing with this issue. The only way they would ever tackle this problem is if the community came together to demand fixes. But to the DbD dev team, it's just not a big enough deal. But a lot of other issues I see people complain about would be solved by making Dead by Daylight free to play alone. And I feel as though making the game free to play would be more beneficial overall than destructive as you seem to think it would. The ends justify the means. Cheaters are gonna cheat, free to play or not.
This one breaks my heart. This one breaks my heart because honestly, it could be really good for the game to separate the serious players and the not so serious, more casual players. But the truth is, you cannot just add a rank mode in DbD. If you split the queue in two, and one of them says ranked, very serious, and the other one says casual, very casual, that in itself wouldn't do anything. A lot of people that would play really, really hard would still play on casual. And now the complaint would be, oh my god, I'm playing casual. Why is my killer tryharding so much?
You are right that people would still play as hard in casual as they do currently. But it would be a place for testing builds on both ends and just playing for fun. Playing for fun doesn't necessarily mean playing badly. The complaints that are currently happening due to sweats is the current MMR system is just awful. I, a baby DbD player, should never get into lobbies with people who have 12k hours, unless I prove that I'm good enough to, which I am. However, as it stands currently, I get into lobbies with people who have thousands and thousands of hours, and there is so much information about the game that I do not know. I like to think I'm decent at the game, but even with my ego, there is no chance I am in any way amongst the top players. Making a ranked playlist would also do some things at the lower skill levels that I think you are not thinking of. In most video games I play, I happen to play at some decently high skill levels, and it's obvious that I'm a bit of a gamer. However, I do not play at the highest levels in any of these except for Rocket League. The thing is, ranked isn't just to show how good you are, but also to allow players to play up against a certain level of people until they've proven they are better, or in some cases, worse. The whole idea of ranked is to try to make sure everyone has a fun time trying their best instead of putting Coconut RTS up against a group who just downloaded the game and collectively have 50 hours. It is clear that this game's current skill-based matchmaking is terrible. Where one game, I'm facing the best Billy player in North America, and the next, someone who's never played a video game in their life. So a ranked mode would fix this specific issue.
There's also the whole fact that if you split the queues, the queue times are going to start to get worse. And maybe in ranked, killers would take 10 minutes to find someone. What are the rewards that you're going to give them? If you don't give them rewards, why would anyone play ranked? The developers definitely seem very interested in not showing us very much anything related to skill or how much exactly, how well exactly you're doing compared to other killers. So this seems like something they possibly wouldn't do.
I actually think I agree that adding a ranked mode could make queue times worse. However, I could also imagine that it does not. Hear me out. Hear me out. So the reason why I presume queue times to be so long is because there are too many people wanting to play killer at once. What could be the reasoning someone chooses playing killer over survivor? Because they're playing alone. And playing solo in a game as complex as Dead by Daylight is super frustrating because your survival hinges upon your teammates. And your solo queue teammates can't tell what perks you have for what scenario, which also doesn't make sense. Furthermore, the variance of skill could frustrate better, more knowledgeable players when they get matched with newer, less skilled players and vice versa. So that one player would rather just play killer since it relies on nobody but themselves. My main point is, Dead by Daylight's skill-based matchmaking is feeding into this problem already. The incentives that DbD give to survivors, in my opinion, are also lame. Honestly, who cares about a 1.5 times boost? Give proper incentives. Maybe give iridescent shards at the end of a match. Maybe give free bonus items like purple flashlights, commodious toolboxes, or good item add-ons. There are so many better things to give survivors rather than an extra 10k blood points. Another thing I think plays into the queue times is the imbalance of the game. After getting tunneled by your 5th Kaneki in a row, you don't feel like solo queuing again, and you'd probably rather just get some anger out yourself by playing Kaneki and tunneling out the others. Please never do this, I'm kidding. Now this is where I lose you. I really don't think the queue times are really that bad. Now, this could be because I'm used to it from other games, to be fair, but currently I played Dead by Daylight as a perkless Huntress main when I played killer. I am by no means saying I'm as good as Ultimo Bushido or Coconut RTS. However, I do think I'm pretty good at it. So with that, I'd imagine I get the worst of the queue times.
If truly I'm at high MMR like the character said I was.
To me, I really don't think queue times are as bad as people make them out to be. Queue times in DbD for killer, in my opinion, are not too dissimilar from any other game I play. In Rocket League, keep in mind I do play at a really high level, so the queue times are amongst the worst. To find a match, it typically takes 3 to 10 minutes at lower region times for me. So I don't see the DbD killer queue at low times as worse when it's like 3 to 6 minutes. You can all wait your turn nicely to tunnel out the next Sable you see, you disgusting piece of shit.
But even if they did, there's a follow-up question. What are the rule differences between ranked and casual?
Stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man. We're lost.
I know. I know that sounds crazy. But let's be honest in asking ourselves, why are there rules for DbD League? Why do we have to make sure certain perks can't be used? The real reason is because at the end of the day, this game is super imbalanced. It's just that simple. And I'm all for going scorched earth so that eventually we can get to a place where this game is balanced. If all of the killers were on a level playing field, then there should be no problem with killer variety. If some of the survivor perks were reworked, then there should be no problem with trying new builds as opposed to sticking to the meta perk build. If certain killer behaviors were fixed, they couldn't abuse certain strategies, if that's what you want to call them. There's a reason why in other games, there are no rule changes from casual to ranked all the way to pro. It's because the game is balanced from the beginning, so there's no need to change the rule set from casual to ranked. The only reason I see that there is a rule set in DbD League from an outsider's perspective is because they're trying their best to compensate for behavior and try to balance an unbalanced game. Something that, in my opinion, should be fixed anyway. The biggest issue that people have is not even that they want a ranked mode at all. Really, all people want is to not get shit on no matter the side they're on. Killers don't want a Gen Rush 4-stack Swift to get the 4E in 2 minutes every match. And survivors don't want to play against a sweaty 4-gen perk slowdown clown who slugs off 4 in 3 minutes every match. But don't you worry, I have the answer.
Mati. Hashisha chi.
Sheath Gim Shari.
Tisaklakaib. Shuma Hoki.
The real best way, I think, to fix this, literally just show the MMR number. Change absolutely nothing. Just merely showing the number on screen would separate the ultra sweats from the babies. And then those who are in between that would play however they want to. Not everyone who plays at higher levels are sweating at all times. They just happen to be good.
It's the greatest shot I've ever made.
And maybe not all low-level players are memeing at all times, but just happen to be mechanically bad. But I do know that mid-level players, where 80% of every game's player base sits, probably have the most fun on their respective game, doing everything from sweating and memeing within the same match. These players, more or less, would be the ones matched together, bringing everyone a happier experience overall. Loading into a match, so I can get my free 50 Eerie shards, seeing a lobby full of people with a similar MMR, I then know I can stick to my normal game, have fun, and be fine. But loading into a lobby with people much higher, I know I can't just goof off and need to do my best. The problem is with the unknown for what people are getting into, which is why it can be really fun highs for players, but also really angering lows.
Just fuck this.
But the thing we do agree on,
I really don't know how to broach this topic. I don't know how to address this. And I'm afraid the developers are not even going to try. Okay. This is not the one that I've been asked the most, but it's the one that drives me the most insane. There are some people out there that are convinced that this game's problems would all be solved overnight, completely, if they just added a voice chat.
no.
Let's just address some simple facts. For American players and people in Australia, hey, maybe it could work. Most of the people that you're going to play with speak English, so it could solve a lot of the frustrations of playing solo queue, and there generally could be so much good that comes from being able to communicate with complete strangers. The big issue with voice chat is that a lot of countries, like in Europe, you're not necessarily going to be paired with people from your same country.
Just because you aren't fluent in a language doesn't mean you can't communicate at all in another language.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
This problem does not stop other games from having people of all sorts of nations from talking or calming in game, whether it's CS, Valorant, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, or any other games. These people are already not able to chat in DbD. So what's the difference? These specific people that you're talking about probably make up about 0.5% of the player base.
The biggest issue, however, is moderation and harassment. DbD already has a pretty dark history of people getting harassed. If they had the option to also come in and start saying racist slurs in the chat, that would be terrible. Obviously, you could just say, well, just mute them, just disable the whole thing, right?
There are tons of people who are rude online. That is just a fact. But as a gamer from all of these different games, I would argue Dead by Daylight is one of the least toxic communities I have ever encountered. Yes, there are some people that can be bad, but that happens like once in every blue moon for me. And no, survivors teabagging an Exegate is not harassment. And as even you say, yes, just mute them. It works in every game I have ever played. Yes, these people could take things outside of the game, which is harassment, but at that point, it's just an easy report.
I could play with you in a lobby, right? And I could record it, and I could edit it, and make it look like you said something terrible to me. So how exactly would the developers know if this evidence is real? They wouldn't be able to know. They would need logs. They would need for every conversation to be recorded or transcribed. How exactly would you do that with possibly every language in the world when you don't speak it, even if you have some software to transcribe it?
No, you wouldn't need logs for every single language. You could easily tell if someone was being bad if they were to receive a mass amount of reports, and then you take action. As someone who has been banned in Rocket League multiple times for saying not so nice things to people, I should know, I never get banned due to one report, not even two. But if like 5 happen in the course of an hour, then that's when they review them. Now you're probably gonna say, what if some people get together and mass report someone? The whole idea being that you need to be able to read false flags from the positive ones. How can you go about this? Maybe have a system that detects more than 5 reports within the same 10 minutes as suspicious and needing further investigation to thwart brigading. Behavior can flag users who have a high rate of rejected or disproven reports. This can create a history for all players and sort the real reports from just the generic I'm mad report. They can also give players a warning when they're submitting too many reports that are rejected. This also creates a way to weigh the good and trusted reports from the bad ones. If a player is on a brand new account, then their trust score should be at a 3 out of 10. But a player with 10,000 hours who's only reported 4 people has their trust at a 10 out of 10. You can also reward players' trust score when you validated their report and lower it when it's rejected. Then, you can track users' report analytics to analyze their accuracy over time, and then maybe create some sort of AI system that can self-govern based upon the information you taught it.
Obviously, you never let the AI be the end-all, and you need human oversight anyway.
Then this model can be given information like time of reports, the types of violations, the reporter's history or trust scores, or the game metadata. At the end of the day, I'm just some guy, and I have no experience in moderation. But what I've said here seems to be the easiest, most straightforward way to deal with this issue, even though I'm not well versed in this field. I would imagine this is probably what most games have without having any deep knowledge of the business.
Adding more stress to the report system just seems like a terrible idea, in my opinion. That would just enable bad faith actors and would make things worse.
What I'm saying would not give the report system more stress. This would inevitably give it less stress. Also, you do not need to worry about every single language at the end of the day. And it's also not like every single language will even be spoken on Dead by Daylight anyway. I would imagine that 98% of the player base speak the most common languages: English, Arabic, Spanish, Chinese, Hindi, French, German, Japanese. So the very small amount of people who do not speak these languages, sure, they can get away with calling me something awful in the moment, but with enough reports from trusted users, they would be banned anyway.
So it's very possible that even if we had this system, you would put it on, and the new frustration would be, yo, I'm on voice chat, why is no one answering, guys? Why is no one answering? It would literally just shift the frustration from one thing to another. It might not change much.
I actually disagree with this as well. I do have a group of like 10 to 12 people I regularly play DbD with, and maybe half of the time do we have 4 total to play. The other half of the time, we have 2 or maybe 3. I also imagine my friends group I play Dead by Daylight with to be bigger than what most players have. For most people, they probably only have 2 or 3 total people to play, and they maybe have that one day, but the next day they have to solo queue because their friends aren't on. Yes, that's true that this frustration would butt its head, but this frustration exists on every game, and this is not the worst problem to have on your game. This would be a problem in one game, but not a problem in another. Just having the option to speak to your teammates could be the difference between success or failure. Although I can agree that there could be some negatives that come with the addition of VC to this game, this addition to the game would be mostly positives. It could allow people to have better, more engaging matches with others. It could reduce go next players. It could help people find community or friendships more easily through Dead by Daylight. It could also increase the fun for someone like me who wants to make some funny clips out of randoms running and screaming from the killer.
What are you doing? What are you doing? No!
I do agree as well that this addition would not really solve much in DbD at all, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about your argument being wrong. The core issue I see across all of these arguments is a reluctance to hold behavior to a meaningful standard. From my admittedly little time in the game, even I can tell that behavior has a habit of doing the bare minimum. But just because a problem has persisted doesn't mean it's unsolvable. They haven't fixed it yet isn't a valid reason to stop expecting better. Dead by Daylight is a massive title with a loyal community and a steady stream of money. That's more than enough to justify demanding improvements. I'm not saying these changes would be easy. MMR transparency, free-to-play access, and voice chat all come with their own challenges, but I genuinely believe they'd make the game better. More clarity, more players, more connection. The best version of Dead by Daylight is still out there, and we're not playing it yet. I know this game has thrived for nearly a decade, and I'm grateful for that. Without its success, I might never have given it a shot. But maybe, just maybe, a fresh perspective from someone who's spent years in competitive games, and has no business telling odds what's what, can help spark a conversation about what could be. If you disagree or think I've completely missed the mark, I genuinely invite you to comment below and tell me how wrong I am. I'm open to be corrected. I'm probably overdue for it. And with that, I guess this is how my YouTube journey ends. One video deep and already beefing with the biggest name in the game. It's been real. Love you all. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more analysis, gameplay, or honest takes from someone who's still learning the ropes, consider sticking around. If not, all right.